Hello, hello, hello. We are live back right here on Love the Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. How are you doing? What's the topic for today? The same topic as we did last week, and that is business then and now, and what it takes to get into it. I'm your host, Tess, with the mostest, Miss J, your drip strategist and your boss methodologist. And I look forward to coming to my show every week right here online with Love Day because we are about helping our community. And in our community, starting a business is always exciting. It's something that people love to do. They get an idea, they want to get out there, they want to do the damn thing. And I love it. And so we're really focusing on a three-part series in September around understanding what it takes to get into business then and now. The things that are happening back in the day may not necessarily be what's happening today. And today's episode is focused on building your launch pad from paper plans to digital platforms. Last week, we talked about idea to identity. So now that you have that, if you've put it together, now it's time for you to launch it. Now, we talked about mindset and the foundation of mindset, because without the right mindset, no business idea survives the first challenge. And we are looking at what are some of the practical launch pads and how to take your idea and get it off the ground and get it in the skies, right? Get those wings up. And I'll tell you up front, the way businesses launched in the past look very, very different from today. So traditionally, you start with a paper business plan, you go to the bank for a loan, you rent a storefront, and you test your ideas digitally, right? Before, sorry, actually, you got a storefront and you prayed the customers would walk through the door. But today we're seeing a lean startup. We're seeing crowdfunding. We're talking about campaigns, e-commerce platforms, and testing ideas digitally before investing heavily. So let's explore this topic today. And I want you to get your pen and paper out. I want you to hit replay, come back. I break these shows down because, as much as we want to talk about all the different topics, a lot of the times I recognize with budding CEOs is that they're not focusing on the how. They're not getting broad enough in their scope of thinking around business development, and it's stunting their growth, it's stunting their knowledge, their skill, and capacity. So let's explore what's changed, what stayed the same, and what you must have in to launch your business wisely in this new era. Now, we just spoke about how businesses typically start, right? Now, business plans used to be massive. I remember when I wrote my first business plan for a client, it was almost 100 pages because we had to go through manually and really put all that information down. Right? Then we look at where they were going. It was not online. There was no such stuff like that. I mean, was there online? I don't know. I'm still only 25, so I wouldn't even know how far back that really goes. But the dependency was on physical storefronts or offices, right? And then there was a lot of upfront costs. So when you were getting a commercial space, you were averaging the first and last month's rent. Then you had to put in all the trimmings for the communications, the phone lines. You had to do, sometimes you had to create the phone line opportunities. So now you had not just getting the phone from the phone company, but then a lot of labor charges in order to get the phone actually installed. Capital often came from bank loans or family. And so we know that when people went out of business or they went bankrupt, it was because they couldn't afford the balloon payments that were happening, especially if nobody was getting into their store. So that's how business was built, a very traditional launch way. But today, we see that there's so many more opportunities. Now, there's a lean startup methodology where basically you're looking at one or two great products, what we call the MVP. And we're using these MVPs to create massive sales. Think about it as the phones, right? The most popular phone, millions of people buying out. And then each year they keep improving the phone, and that phone becomes the MVP for the year. When they were looking at funding, now most of your family is telling you to go and smell yourself they ain't giving you no money, right? So people are now turning away from banks. Why? Because banks do require credit scores. Banks require to show that your business is going to perform because why? They are securing their returns. Now you can get into crowdfunding, microloans, digital platforms as funding sources, and you're able to test and validate your ideas on a small scale. Before, you had to invest a lot heavily into marketing in order for people to know your product existed. And then, as you hopefully they liked it, then you probably would recoup a lot of that marketing money. But now you can get on there for free. You can make all types of videos and posts. You can do surveys, polls, the whole nine. And what about the storefronts? Well, you don't longer have to have a storefront. You don't have to have a brick and mortar. Now there's mobile services, there are online stores, there's social media presence, and a lot of flexible operations like all the AI automations, etc., that are taking small businesses and virally turning them into success overnight. Now, the biggest difference is this: launching a business no longer requires the same financial risk, which opens up the platform to a lot more businesses. So, although it's a blessing, it could also be your curse. Okay. Well, look at that. We have our girls rolling in. All our CEOs are entering the building. Good evening, Empress, saying, oh, now I'm waiting for my new order, but I do want to give a shout out for these. These are one of my faves. This right here is from straight from Ghana. Yes, honey. This is from Empressing. If y'all need to get on this, let me tell you, I live for my African accessories. Okay. And shout out to CLC Socials in the building. Again, if you're looking for media help, call my girl Georgie D of the COC. But let's get back into it. So, even though it's easier now to launch your business, it still means you have to be smarter about how you plan, test, and scale. Now, we're going to go in to a few more pieces before we jump back with my guest. And I'm excited to have her. She was here last week and we're going to do it again. So, right now, take that opportunity to share the link with a friend. Tell them to hop on. If they're really even thinking about starting a business, this would be a great series for them to be a part of. So when I coach CEOs, I often tell them that a launchpad isn't just a plan, it's a platform, it's a blueprint, it's the architect of your mind, it's the things that you've been thinking about while you're in bed, you're rolling back and forth, and you're just like, oh, I'm so excited to do this. It's the ground you'll lift off from. And if it's shaky, the whole business wobbles. Now, we know that in traditional launchpad, like launching a business, some of the must-haves are the business plan. Now, today they say you don't need to really have one. I'm still a very staunch advocate for business plans. Why? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Okay, so the business plan, you needed a capital loan, you had to storefront, and then you had to have a staff in place. Okay, so those are must-haves. So they're pretty much the same as how businesses were formed, as we just talked about in the last slide. But launching the business, these were the real key criteria that you had to have. Now, what's the difference now? Well, today, to launch a business, you could do it in modern seconds, right? You just need a proof of concept. And so if you tested your MVP and everybody liked it, or even a strong, now, let me not say everybody, because I know my people know I don't do everybody and a lot, and those aren't numbers to me. Okay, those are just words, so let me not use those. If you have a number of people who have shown interest in your business, then you definitely want to do that. Digital tools such as websites, social platforms, CRMs, e-commerce, these are all now available at very nominal prices. It's almost like you can hire a whole company of people right on your laptop. Now, the funding, we talked about crowdfunding, but there's also now small investor funding or self-funding, right? And I like to teach people about self-funding because I believe that if you understand how to generate money, you're never broke. And I've never had to take out a loan to turn two of my businesses into six-figure businesses. Because why? I knew how to generate something from nothing. Give me 50 cents and I'll turn it into $500. Mark my words. And no polls entered the situation to do that. Marketing validation. Does your target audience actually want this? Sometimes it's sad, but you have to ask yourself and be real with yourself. If you've put enough time and effort into actually putting your product out there and it's not being picked up by the public, that just really just may mean it's not the right time, or it's not the right demographic, or you're in the wrong space of the design or concept that you're looking at. So I always say, don't get overwhelmed or sad or whatever the case is. Not everything is going to win. Like, I've had a lot of concepts that have landed on the editing floor of my businesses because they just sucked. All right. Like, some just were really bad. Right. I thought about it. I'm like, oh, well, this might work. And I run and go and do it. And then later on, I recognized, yeah, probably wasn't the best thing. So listeners, if you are at a launch stage, ask yourself, have I tested this idea small before going big? Don't skip this step, because why? You are going to save time, money, and stress. All right. And like we say, hashtag thank me later. All right. So what do we need to do? Well, to bring this to life, to talk about how we're launching, or the origins of launching, will be my guest, Phyllicia. Oh, she's going to kill me. I spelled her name wrong on my slide deck. I still love you, Phyllicia. My guest, Phyllicia LaToya, who's experienced launching businesses in the digital age. She is the CEO of Thrive Wellness and a purpose-driven architect of whole person health. She turns big interconnected ideas like the 8 dimensions of wellness and themes of life, love, and liberty into practical, step-by-step systems anyone can follow. Grounded in science, innovation, and what she calls the school of hard knocks, she personally navigated physical, intellectual, emotional, spiritual, social, environmental, financial, and vocational challenges. Formerly the CEO of Love Lessons Library, Inc., she now helps people move from stuck. Almost said again, suck. Maybe you should just put suck in there. Sad, stuck, or struggling to balance, purpose, and lasting happiness. Together, we're going to explore today how to build a launch pad that actually gets you off the floor, gets your wings up, and helps you to fly. Please welcome to the show, Phyllicia.
Hello. Hi.
I saw the spelling there. I'm like, oh, she's going to text me later.
Yes, there's an extra I.
I know, looking at it, I'm like, oh, that says Phyllicia.
It's okay. You're lucky I love you, girl.
Thank you. That's what I have to put the shout out. I have to put the shout out. So, hey, there's my girl, CEO Stacy from the Sweet Spa Mobile Spa Services.
Hello.
Talk to the people.
Georgia D, what's up? How you doing? Hi, hello. Ooh,
that's a
hello,
CEO Desua Empressing. Again, let me just get that close up now that people can see this bad boy. Look at that.
Oh, those are fabulous.
Aren't they?
Very nice.
You should see the ones that I'm skipping to my mailbox for my 2 new ones coming in. I can't wait to wear them next week. Well, I can't wear them at the same time, but you know what I mean.
I do.
Last week we had a really good conversation about idea to identity, and thank you for sharing your journey. Even with yourself, and I know you're very as much driven, resilient, innovative, and progressive as I am. And so I'm excited because today I'm really excited to help people launch, and I know that you're going to bring that level of expertise to the game as well. So let's talk about origins. When did you first launch your business, and did you follow the traditional approach or more of a modern approach?
Well, I'm what you call a serial entrepreneur, which means I got ideas. I'm ready to launch them, some hits, some miss, So I've tried the traditional approach. Yeah. I've tried the modern approach. I've tried other approaches as well. But the last one, honestly, I did more of an innovative approach. That's what I'm calling it. It's like, it's more modern compared to traditional, like it was online and everything like that. But the main difference was that I was just like, there has to be a better way. You talked about self-funding. And I was just like, yes, I recommend self-funding for everybody because it puts like everybody. That's the
Yeah.
number one way to just run your business. You become the bank. Like, you just, if you need money, you can make it. Like, having that kind of power
Yes.
is just, I don't know, like,
Yes.
just, you're gonna fly, you know.
Oh, 100%, girl.
So,
Spread those wings, honey. No,
ooh,
but it's true.
just
It's
just just
very
fly, you
true.
know.
Yeah, it's true. Very true.
And that's
And
the way that I recommend. Yeah.
I agree because I mean, at the end of the day, when you self fund, you really give yourself not just the control over the money, not just reduced expensive loan payments. And I'm not saying that you should not. I mean, there are companies that you start that need that money, like who need to go
Mhm.
to a bank and capitalize on what they're offering. Because why? Some businesses require a lot to start up. So you really don't, let's just take us here that if you're starting a pharmaceutical company or something like that, self-funding may not be the way for you. but
No.
but most businesses you can actually get away with self-funding, right? So I'm not, oh, thank you so much. I
Thank you.
received that. Look at that name,
I
Nusaiba. I
love
hope I
it.
said that properly. Thanks, Nusaiba.
Nikita. Yes.
That's a
Thank
pretty
you.
name. Yeah,
You
and
did it.
so yeah, so when you think about your businesses, we have to always be mindful once we do the business plan to determine what the financial planning will look like. But self-funding
Mhm.
will always be number one to go to for me. And I'm glad
Yeah.
that you're on that tip.
For me too, because I'm like, one of the things that I like to teach and kind of get people's mind around is that most people don't really care about whatever it is you're offering until they know you care about them and what they're struggling with or suffering with, right?
Yeah.
So when you take that story, your journey, and because you have knowledge or something inside of you that somebody else needs to learn to understand in order to make that gateway. And the way that the online space works right now is you can take that knowledge and then sell it and gift it,
Mhm.
and that can be your platform to then fund that bigger thing, that physical product,
Yeah.
that, you know what I mean. So you can still self fund, but you just have to be a little bit more strategic with how you go about it. So it's
Mhm.
like, before you go and start that big company and have the storefront and invest lots and lots of money in something physical, you can
Yeah.
invest in an online space that teaches around the same principles. You're not necessarily going into a different niche or different market, but you can say, let's say you want to start a bakery, and people are like, okay, well, I'm really good at cooking or baking a specific thing. You can start to share your story about what it is that you've got going on. And other people are like, I'm really good at baking too. You can start teaching lessons on, different things online that will then bring in the funds for you to then go launch that physical product, physical space. And then
Yes.
you're still your own bank, you're still self-funding, but it's just a
100%.
different approach, and it may take a little bit longer, but it's still very much possible.
And it also helps with really fleshing out if your product or service is going to work, because you're now into engaging with people who can give you that
Mm-hmm.
feedback. When I started coaching, I mean, coaching is not a big startup. Like, you don't need a lot of money to coach. You just got to know what you're talking about, right? And
Yeah.
when you have that ability, it was easy for me to coach people through the stuck period as you do now, because it was
Mm-hmm.
about putting themselves first and understanding they had to increase their knowledge, skill, and capacity in order to help others. And when like sometimes, and that's why I have to stop with the wordings today. Like, I am talking from slow. I mean, all day I'm talking slow. But when you really think about the product or service that you're doing, I find that there's so much, what's that word? Variations that you
Mm-hmm.
have to be careful with. Because in self-funding, here's one of the downsides of self-funding, that because it's your own money, you start in doing all types of things, creating excessive amount of products, creating excessive amount of services. You're putting more and more and more and more money, and you're not actually test marketing any of the products properly. You're not following the product development formula that ensures that you're actually going to have a chance to really put that out there. The second part with self-funding, that drawback for some people, is that they try to serve everybody. Someone says to them, hey, I think you should, and all of a sudden they're in the lab and they're putting it
Mm-hmm.
together. And then they don't have enough money to actually launch the product that they thought about in the first place, right? So there's such the pros and cons, but I still am a big advocate for it, because It saves you on paying interest on high interest loans, especially if you don't need them. And when you finally do need it, you can show an investor, the crowd, the people or the crowd, or that you have invested into yourself and into your
Mhm.
dream. So that's really cool on that. What lessons
Exactly.
did you learn? What lessons did you learn with the test market of your origins? You say, girl, you the school of hard knocks. Share the gem with me. Let the people learn. Wait, are you one of those people that feel and learn or listen and learn?
I feel, listen, and learn.
Oh, that's plenty, plenty. Okay, if you're out there and you're listening, drop it in the chat. Are you a feel and learn CEO or are you a listen and learn CEO? And I know most of you don't lie on the chat, people. But yeah, I want to know. Everyone, put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. I want to know. So talk to us. What did you get right in your launch, and what would you absolutely do differently now?
So I took, like I said earlier, I took an innovative approach. So I actually decided that I was gonna go the route where I was gonna self-fund it. I didn't want to have to, I was like, you know what, we're in a space right now, especially with this online AI sort of thing, that you can literally create anything for free almost.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with very, very little capital investment, and then build it to a point where the business is almost paying for itself. So you do the MVP, you make sure you have an idea that works, you're connecting with the right sort of people, then they're starting to pay you and then kind of launch it. But when you're doing that, it's a whole different ball game. So that was
Mm-hmm.
kind of the way that I launched like my last one. That was the most like, I was like, yes, this is an amazing thing. And I turned it into something that I now call the basic needs business. But
Right.
basically what that is it's like, oh, we've got to listen and learn.
Ah,
Hey,
yes, I have to
okay,
agree. Please, you're a
you
listen
agree
and
with
learn.
that? Yeah,
Okay, I do.
nice.
I do.
I don't
I
like
don't
feeling.
like feeling.
It
It
hurts.
hurts. That's a good one.
Fair enough.
It's giving hurt.
Hurts.
Oh
I've
Lord.
had yeah. um but it was like when I launched, I was like, you know what, no, there has to be a better way. So
Mhm.
and because I have like a heart for the community and people who are really struggling and want to start businesses but necessarily don't have that capital and that business, like the money to do so, and they may have bad credit and might not be able to get the investors or the people to kind of show up. It's like, how do we give the power back to the people so that way
Mhm.
they can make their own choices? How do we remove the excuses and say, hey, no, you know what, you can do this if it's something that you really want to? And because of this online space, we now have that ability to do these things, as long as you have the right mindset, as long as you're patient with the process and you do your checks along the way. There, you really can do and create just about anything with very little capital. So what I
Mhm.
did to launch this particular time, I was like, you know what, I'm taking $20 US, nothing more. That's all I'm spending. And how am I going to make this thing happen? And all I had to do was purchase my domain that had like the email backend side of it. And everything else I was able to leverage for free
Mhm.
through like freemiums, online spaces. It wasn't like something that I could scale big and beyond immediately, but it was enough for me to create my basic needs, for me to cover my basic needs, for me to be able
Your
to
test mark,
reinvest
yeah.
into my
Test it.
business, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And then I was testing the market. I was testing my product. I was like, hey, you know what? This is working. People want this. This is something that's important. And then I was able to scale and build it from there. And
Yeah.
that was kind of the best way. And I didn't have to do a big, big launch. And when you're doing something like this scale, you can't do a big, huge launch because that's money. You need money for platforms and marketing and ads and all this other stuff, right? But just by reaching out and letting people know and leveraging social media, I was able to then start to bring people in slowly, because again, it's free. So you got to kind of test it as you go to make sure everything doesn't fall apart on you as you go. But it
100%.
was definitely something that was very, very powerful to you. And now it's like the sky's the limit. Anybody can do this. No more excuses, you know?
These are
Which
facts.
is
These
great.
are facts. So
Mhm.
that's was a listen, learn. Empress said, listen and learn. Okay. I love that.
Oh,
Listen
nice.
and learn. So sorry. Yeah. Didn't want to stop you in the middle of talking.
No worries.
Um, I agree 100%. I think one of the biggest things I love doing with business is I have the capacity, and that's something that I learned very young. I had the ability to take something out of my head and and do it. But what I also had was experience building from scratch, right? It's that feeling where when I was working, they didn't give us a big budget for the types of programs and the demographics that they were asking us to serve. So it really ramped up my innovation, right?
Mm.
Well, I had the ability to take a program out of my head, create it, build it for like $50, and then go out to the community and promote it and then fill up the programs. And so I got really adept at being able to take something, nothing, and turn it into something. And I actually just kind of kept transferring that skill set. But you said something that's clutch and that I do want to address. I agree 100%. Now they have changed. Like now that the digital world is becoming strong, there are a lot of platforms that are just giving you the basics. And so run with the basics, right?
Mhm.
Miss Glanville's in the building. What's up, team? CEO, all of my CEOs are checking in today. I love that. CEO of Tara's Vegan Cuisine in the building. Claps heads up. Um, so just going back to what we were just talking about, it's important that no matter what stage of business that you're at, is that you're really looking at the approach and what did you learn from your first investment? What did you learn from your second investment? Did you have an actual cash flow running? So now you know where the money's coming from to invest into your capital. So you're right. The opportunities now are limitless in a way, but
Mhm.
because they're limitless, there's a lot more people in the field, and so
Yeah.
you just define what makes you different than the person sitting beside you. Funding. Now we just talked about self-funding. We've been talking about that part for a while. How did you handle the money question?
Um, so again, with that whole self-funding thing, it was just like I was in a dark situation, or like a difficult situation, let's put it like that. And I was just like, you know what, even though um everything isn't here that I need, like I would love to just have the money to be able to invest and that sort of thing. But because I didn't have it, I was like, okay, is that going to be my excuse? Am I going to
Mhm.
make this a reason that I'm not going to fulfill what's in my heart and what I know I can do and should do? Or am I
Right,
going to find a way? And
right.
that's the question when it comes to that money question. It's like, are you going to find excuses, or are you going to find solutions? And at the end of the day, you have to find solutions. If it's
Yeah.
self-funding, is possible for everybody, but if it's not, and you do, maybe you have somebody, you know, maybe you pitch it the right way. Like sometimes it's just not necessarily what you know or who you know, but there's somebody you know that knows somebody, and you just have to start
Uh-huh.
talking about it, start getting out there, start connecting
Yeah.
with the right people, use your community network, leverage, you know what I mean? So it's just finding solutions to whatever might be holding you back around that money problem, but you can't let money stop you.
A
And you
thousand
have to
percent.
use it wisely when you have it, because we've all heard the
Mhm.
stories of, like, you know, people who win the lottery and then a year later they're broke.
Yeah.
So
There's a whole show on that. There are a
like,
whole, I don't know if you ever seen it, but they showed a lot of lottery winners who
mm,
won jackpots like 20
mm,
million, 30 million, 40 million. And like a year and a half later, they were
had
back in
nothing to show for it.
their shack
Hmm.
and their RV and and crying. Like that's so sad. That is so
Yeah,
sad.
it
That
really
is
is.
that was generational wealth money that they won. I mean, yeah. Like for me, money was always around what sacrifices that needed to be made in order to. So I was not like one of the things that um I just cut out was shopping. Like I'm not a big shopper. I hate shopping anyways. Like anybody who knows me knows that me and malls, we don't come together unless I have to walk into it. But I also learned very early. I mean, my dad was an accountant, so he taught me a lot of money skills in terms of understanding that expenses to live had to take priority before the things you wanted. And that's what I teach my children. And I say that when you're starting a business, most people do have the money. If you can show up at Starbucks, McDonald's, or you could go out for breakfast and hang out with people and drive here and enter there and buy tickets for this, you have money for your business, right? It's
Hmm.
all about what you value. And if you really value the dream, there is a level of sacrifice you have to make in order for that to happen. And that's what I did. I invested in a car because I used to MC, so I had to be hosting different shows. That was one of my hustles. I've invested in a lot of like office supplies and whatnot because I always wanted to look professional. I wasn't trying to nickel and dime. I would take my little thing and go to Staples, and I'm in there. Woo, you know what I mean? I invested in in a desktop. I invested in. I just really wanted to do it so badly that I said to myself, like, I wasn't rich. I was working maybe 20, 30 hours part-time, going to college, and running two businesses, plus working, in the city. And so even though we were always on the grind, we knew what we valued. And those early day entrepreneurs, and I'm talking 15, 20 years ago. Shout out to Georgette Dehaney. I'm putting her out here. She will always be my idol when it comes to being an entrepreneur. She was the first entrepreneur I knew, outside of my parents. And the first one, when her employment situation changed, she went out on faith 20 plus years ago and built a business, $1 million business. And
That's nice.
I am always impressed and awed and humbled by her journey. And, even though people know I'm a go-getter, I always had a income. You know what I mean? So to have someone in our community, where we live, to be one of the first to step out on that level of faith in her abilities always will be this for me, right? She is my pioneer. And so the advice you would give to entrepreneurs today about securing startup capital would be what?
No, well, you said it, your value. You have to know your value, present it well, especially when it comes to your niche. Like, make sure you're speaking to your audience in the right ways. Make sure they understand who you are and how you connect to them. Make sure that, when you put together your packaging for your funding, that you're asking for it. This is not if you're doing your self-funding aspect, but just make sure that you present yourself well. Go through every aspect, comb through it, make sure you know how to manage it properly, have fail safes in place, have a team around you who can support you, have a coach. You need a coach, somebody who can whistle in your ear and say, yes, no, like, check your stuff.
That's it.
Don't, like, you just
call it
that.
Our shameless plug.
We're here.
You remember what's her name? Cleo, call me. I'm the business Cleo, y'all. Call me. Call me now.
And I'm the wellness Cleo. Call me now.
1-800, call me now.
Call me now.
She did a phone number out of that, but she did the damn thing. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. That put me in the Cleo phase. Go ahead.
Oh my goodness. Oh shoot. I went down Cleo road.
We never know where we left off. This is a good moment. Like, we just went back in the day. Like, we just started reminiscing. Reminiscing the love we had. Yeah. Let me tell you, girl, I'm gonna have to do a music segment because listen, I'm all about these arts, honey. That we were talking about advice to the entrepreneurs, and we're telling them, okay, let's just wrap this part up. Listen, don't stop spending your money out the door. Save it and put it in. Call up. And we're gonna help you double, triple your money. Okay. So that's that. That's all we're talking about on that. Let's talk about digital because we know we're in the digital age. How did digital, or what role did that play in your business startup? The digital platforms. I know you.
Everything. Everything. I'm not even gonna lie. If it wasn't for digital, I wouldn't be here right now. Not in this way.
So you're saying you weren't out there carrying the yellow pages door to door? That was what it was. Yo, when you saw your name, remember back in the day they had your whole phone number, like they had your name. Yo, I didn't even understand that because when I think about it now, I'm like, what was that? Wasn't that a privacy of invasion that you had your name in a book that everybody could access your phone number? That's crazy. That's craziness. That's just straight craziness. Anyway, So how did does digital play in your roles today?
um, yeah, so I mean, it, like I said, it's everything. Like, just because of the way that online has blown up and everything
Mhm.
is available, like one of the ways that the online space works is like give something away for free so they understand what you have, that they can use it, value it, and then as they need more of it, they'll pay you for it. That's kind of
Mhm.
how it works. So because of that, you can have like your emails online and just have everything kind of like structured. You can have your coaching online platforms for people to talk to. You can do all your advertising online. That wasn't necessarily something you could do before in traditional senses. You had to go through radio and TV and all that stuff. But now
Mhm.
it's just you can post a video for free, load it up, and throw some money behind it, and there you go, bada boom, bada bing. So
Mhm.
it's
You're back on the old school. Bada boom, bada bing.
I mean, we might as well.
Yo, people and the listeners, I'm only 25. I don't know what Phyllicia be talking about. She old.
I am 99 and holding. Don't you forget it.
Like there, we can spend this whole time on the show just laughing at all type of food. This is why I can't have Georgia back on the show because we're not stop laugh about everything. Building business has to be fun, y'all. Let me tell you, if you're gonna join the empire, you're gonna join
Oh,
Thrive. We're about this life right here, enjoying, bossing up, talking, and just enjoying life. Before you continue, I want to welcome those coming in. Welcome to Love the Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. You're sitting here with Phyllicia LaToya, CEO of Thrive Wellness. She has 8 dimensions to her wellness game, honey, and they are legit real. So if you are struggling, if you're stuck, she's the person to call. I'm going to put up her QR after so you can scan and touch base with her. Touch base with her and let her know what you need help with. So right now we're just talking about the digital age of the 2-part series of our what it takes to start a business then and now. And today we're just focusing on some of the things that you need to be doing to launch your business. So she's just going to help us or finish up on the digital advantage. 99 has never looked so right. You know they say black don't crack, honey. Yayo, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice.
the big
Right
book of white
here.
pages.
Big book of white pages. Them frat out your business. Like if you were cheating, you were getting caught. You could call and know
Right?
the girl that he was cheating with and be like, I know where you live. Oh Lord, the things that if we knew then what they didn't know now,
No.
yo, problems for the people then. Hold it
Oh
and
man.
hold.
Mm,
Facts on facts. Okay,
I
so
love
let's
it.
talk about challenges. What was the
Mm.
hardest part from going from an idea to the actual launch, and how did you overcome that?
Um, the hardest part was making it into like a system that actually works.
Right.
And yeah, like it's the system. So that idea has to now become something that people can actually use and benefit from
Mm,
and appreciate and actually want. So going through that process is the biggest, it's the biggest challenge. But once
yeah.
you master that, you're good.
Yeah. And if you don't get the help, we can't stress enough. I think, if you think about back in the day, people started the business and they had to learn everything. Like you had to
Mhm.
be everything. There was no online assistance or no, and I'm talking about in our era, there was no
Mm.
business coaches. There was nobody running to teach you how to be an entrepreneur. Your auntie
Mhm.
took up her bananas, went side of the street and sold, right? Your
Mm.
uncle was fixing cars and he had zero mechanic certifications, but he understood, right?
Yeah.
He was under
Yeah.
there tinkering and fixing them. Some for the
Mm.
most part. My uncle's cars moved after he finished, and some didn't. Such is life, right? But I think one of the biggest challenges I had um,
Mm.
was keeping a very MVP focus, and that
Mm.
used to get up with me because I had so much ideas in my head, and I had the ability to actually implement them. That was actually a hit against my success.
Hindrance. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was stretched so wide and so thin because I was just, oh, let's do this, and oh, I could do that, and oh, I could do this, that I never really took the focus to master something, right? And this, I'll be real, where I am now, 5 years ago, I had started the life coaching side of my business because I've been certified for over 20 plus years. And the empire was actually just a program in the Beautiful Women Society. It wasn't actually a company, it was a program. And so I was running the business program, I was running a life program, I was running, I was doing tips and all of this kind of stuff. And over time, I had to recognize where my passion was. And once I understood that, I transitioned into Boss Women Society, now Empire by Design. And this, for me, being able to give 100% to Empire by Design and to all the women I work with, I'm seeing a massive difference, not even just in their growth, but in my growth. Right. So I've produced a magazine. I'm producing a website, a referral site for my clients, people who are chosen to me, who I believe in and who I know in their heart want to create that generational wealth. But I couldn't get there until I really stopped and just focused. Right. So that's how launching Empire became a lot easier, because I looked back at the challenges I had with my other companies. Right. So if you're out there and you're really looking to get something going, you're going to have challenges, right, Phyllicia? Like, I'm
Yeah, for
telling
sure.
you, this ain't for the weak. It ain't for the lighthearted. It ain't for
Mm-mm.
the people who are trying to, make it a hobby. Like, if you go in, you gotta
Mm-mm.
go in,
Yeah.
right?
That's why we're laughing and joking around, because you have to have that spirit of laughter to laugh things off and be able to kind of let some things roll off the side of you and bring that
Right?
joy
Oh my God! I
back
just
into
lost
the
$1,000.
difficulties, right?
Oh,
Like you gotta let it happen. Sometimes it's just one of
you
those
have
things.
to, because
And
sometimes it's going downhill so quick you can't even stop the
yeah,
toboggan. Just
you just at that point you just have to laugh, because if you don't laugh, you'll be like rolled up in the fetal position for about a week, and people be knocking like, "What's going on?" It's not good. Yeah.
ain't a turtle. Ain't a turtle.
But all
Yeah.
of that just goes back to what we were talking about last week, just kind of really knowing who you are and your identity, and just being able to
Yeah,
bring that to light. Because once you know who you are, you know your values,
that's it.
you're able to pull out of you what that focus should be sooner.
Yes.
When you're not sure of who you are, what you're about, or what you stand for, then you're all over the place, and you're like, okay, well, I could do this, but then I can do this, and then I can kind of do this, and then and yes, it's all like everything you go through in life is a part of your learning journey. But when you
Wow.
really take the time, like, to do that inner work, to be before you step out, it's a completely different thing. It's a
Let's hear
completely
that for
different
the
thing.
people in the back. When you step out,
Mm,
be on
mhm,
your game, right?
mhm,
In this day and age, I think a lot of people love to say, I'm capable of. And it's
mhm.
like,
Yeah.
girlfriend, just because you watch 3 YouTube videos does not
Yep.
classify you as an expert. You will not be diagnosed in my behind telling me you watch
Right?
40 videos. It's not going to happen today, tomorrow, or next week.
Forever.
Right? And so that's the advice that I want to give, and then you can give. But my advice is level up your skill, level up your knowledge, level up your capacity. Every industry is so massive, there's no room to be doing 2 and 3 things, right? You have to really get focused. You really got to just laser focus, put on the blinders, don't look left, don't look right, look forward. And the more experience you gain through leveling up your knowledge, skill, and capacity, the more trust and credibility you build with people. Because people now can tell you if you're lying. Back in the day, who had Google? Who could
Yeah.
Google it? If I told you this is what it was, you just you just believed. Now you can
Mhm.
Google it and be like, full of it. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? So that's my advice. Level up your KST so that your
Mhm.
DRIP gets BOSS.
Hey.
Okay. What about you?
um, for me, the advice is kind of twofold. Like we talked about it just before you, and even with what you're talking about, it's like you, in order to level up, you have to know who you are, and having that holistic wellness kind of aspect, and just kind of making sure that you're good on all fronts. Because if you're hammering it away in one area but another area is lacking, you're like you're pulling yourself too thin. And then when it's
Yeah.
time for you to show up and show up in the right way, you can't manage it. And so that's why sometimes you see celebrities who have like this really big burst and they're doing amazing and they're all popular, but then all of a sudden they're having mental health issues, they're going to rehab, they're all sorts of stuff because they didn't prepare themselves properly before they stepped into the spotlight.
That
And
right
so
there.
that's like, you have to make sure, especially with this day and age, because everything is all social media and everybody, you can't really hide from anything. Just make sure you're on top of your game 100% on all areas. So that I agree with you 110%. And one other thing I'm going to add to that is just make sure you have the right coach, not a coach, the right coach. Make sure you have somebody who understands you for you, understands your journey. If you're innovative, have an innovative, like somebody that you can bounce ideas of and not going to squash what you've got coming, like going on and happening. Like make sure they'll give you life and give you space to grow and help. Like the role of a coach should be to bring out the best in you, not to do things for you, not to make you feel less than. They're going to have some tough love around who you are and what you got going on, because they need to push you in the right direction. But they're not going to make you feel like you're a nobody or you're less than, or your idea is just nothing. If there's something wrong with your idea, they'll help you pivot it. They'll help you shift it. They'll help, they'll give you growth. But if they're making you feel any other way than moving forward, then, so find the right coach.
And you got to check yourself at the door when you go to get someone to coach you. You can't walk in with the expectation they're here to agree with you. And I think I find that with a lot of people. They think that I'm here to say, yes, you're right. Yeah, no, I'm not that coach. I am not. Call Phyllicia. Sorry. Right? Yeah, shout it out loud and proud, honey. Yeah, that's right. No, seriously.
Yeah.
But, and I tell people, like, I look for people with the will to win. If you want to win, then I know you're going to do what you need to do to get to the W. That's the coach that I am, and that's the way I live. It's my lifestyle. It's who I am. It's not what I do, right? Type thing. Girl, we on part 3 next week. I can't believe the time has run away with us.
I like it.
We are on part 3 next week, so make sure if you're staying here, welcome to Love the Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. I'm here with my girl Phyllicia LaToya. Let me tell you, these names that I'm getting on here, creme de la creme. We want you back here next week, 7 o'clock Thursday, with us as we do on the final of our 3-part series on what it takes to get into business then and now. I'll catch you in the back room in a few. I'm just going to close out the show. I want to thank you
for having me.
Girl, you know you're going to be a regular on this. I'm like, it's going to be legit. Like, we helping these people in these streets, honey. Right?
Yeah.
Growth, system structures, and sustainability, the foundations, next week. I'll talk to you soon, my girl. Wave to the people and wings up.
Hey.
Flying. My people, I'm telling you, I love all entrepreneurs. I love people who want to start their businesses. I love people who have a passion to help people. And something that me and Phyllicia talk about all the time is that you have to have the right purpose for your passion. It's not about you all the time. It's actually not about you. You started your business for somebody else, and so you need to live up to that. I want you to remember that today, we saw how launching has shifted from heavy plans and storefronts to lean startups and digital platforms. And no matter the era, one truth remains. Thank you, Empress Singh. Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you, Sweet Spot. Appreciate you for coming out. Always here to support me. And I appreciate every single time. So no matter the era, one truth will always remain. You must have a launch pad that's strong enough to lift you off the ground. At the Empire by Design, we teach you about the wings. We're going to teach you how to fly. So next week, we're going to talk about what it takes to move beyond the launch and build a business that lasts. So make sure you invite your friends. Don't keep this knowledge to yourself. The more, as Phyllicia said, we have to gift what we know. And I use this platform, and I thank Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio every single week for giving me the platform to share my knowledge. So until then, remember, business is not about rushing to the finish line, and it's not about just the money. It's about building step by step. It's about building with drive, resilience, innovation, and progression. I'm your girl, Miss J, your drip strategist and your boss methodologist. And you've been listening to Business Weekly right here, Thursdays at 7 p.m. on Love Bay. I just renamed your company, Mr. T. Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. Let's build something legendary. And always keep your wings up and let's fly. I'll talk to you next week on the same channel. Bye.